Hey guys, this is Miss Stantle. I am just going to read through this part of today's lessons. The lesson is called Patterns Among Biotic and Abiotic Factors in Ecosystems. If you want to listen to me walk through the actual questions that go along with this, stay tuned. I'll have another video also at the end of this assignment. So here we go. The unexpected effect of wolves in Yellowstone National Park. In the 1920s, wolves were officially removed from Yellowstone National Park. Wolves are predators that occasionally prey on domesticated animals, and people were afraid that they might also harm humans. Remember, domesticated animals are animals that humans have tamed from the wild. So that might be things like cats and dogs, as well as any kind of livestock. They used hunting and other methods to remove all of the wolves from Yellowstone. By the 1990s, Yellowstone had significantly changed. One major difference was the reduction of aspen, cottonwood, and willow tree growing along streams. Yellowstone was experiencing a drought, and without any wolves to prey on the elk population was at its highest level. Elk eat young trees and shrubs, especially in winter when the snow covers up shorter plants. During this period, nearly all of the young trees were eaten by elk before they could grow to maturity. This loss affected many animals, including the birds that nest in trees, the bison that compete with elk for young trees, and the beavers that use the trees as a source of food and shelter. In 1995 and 1996, a total of 21 wolves were released into Yellowstone. Since then, scientists have been recording observations in the Yellowstone ecosystem. For example, they observed wolves often eating only about half of a prey animal, and the rest of the animal was then eaten by scavengers. Scientists also observed more young trees and shrubs growing to maturity. Shrubs, just another fancy term for bushes, if you will. The return of the trees has seemed to slow the water flow in streams, and it provides beavers material to build dams and shelters. Beaver dams are barriers across moving water. It's where the beavers live. The dams slow streams even further and trap sediments in areas where new willow trees can grow. So next we have a nice little chart. It says this chart is about estimated population changes after wolves are released into Yellowstone. So we should be noticing what happens as a result. So we put some wolves into the park. What's going to happen to other things? So it's going to tell us the year, how many wolves are currently living at that point in time in Yellowstone, how many elk are living in Yellowstone, how many bison, as well as how many beaver colonies. So a colony would be a group of beavers. So how many groups of these beavers are there? So in 1995, before you all were born, there were only 14 wolves in the park, an amazing 16,000 elk. My goodness, that's amazing. 800 bison, and only 2 beaver colonies. 5 years later, in 2000, there were 119 wolves. That's a huge jump up. 15,000 elk, still quite a few elk. 500 bison, so that number's gone down. And 3 beaver colonies. So as you can see, it jumped up just a bit there. Now we're going to look at 2005, which is 10 years in, okay? There are now 118 wolves, so a little bit less. However, here's the amazing part right here. 7,000 elk. That's a drastic decline. 1,500 bison. That's a drastic increase, isn't it? As well as an increase of the number of beaver colonies. So interesting. So let's look at 15 years out. So in 2010, it's been 15 years since the release of those wolves. Now there's a few less, only 97, still quite a few. There are only 5,000 elk, so that number even dropped a little farther, not nearly as drastically though. 1,700 bison, so 1,700 bison, and 12 beaver colonies. That's quite a difference in a 15-year span. The overall effect of the wolves seems to be helping to restore a balance in the Yellowstone ecosystem, although much work still needs to be done. Ideally, they probably want to see some different numbers. All right. Snowfall's effect on the Yellowstone ecosystem. Less snow falls during a warmer than normal winter in the Yellowstone ecosystem. The thinner snow cover on the ground allows for more plants to be visible than when the snow cover is thick. Yellowstone in the future. Some scientists predict that over time, the average thickness of snow cover in the Yellowstone ecosystem will decrease as global air temperatures increase. So that appears to be all of the reading that's included here. So take a look at the next video if you want me to walk through questions, and I will be happy to walk through those and hopefully answer any questions you might have about those particular questions.